Let's play a quick game and spot the difference. One of these two is a Suzuki Jimny. Is it this one on the left or this one on the right? Let me know down in the comments which one you think it is. Here is the Suzuki Jimny. Now it's a small compact SUV that has somewhat of a cult following, but with a starting price of 390,000 Rand and going all the way up to 440, it's not exactly a cheap little car. But I'm going to test it today to see if it lives up to its price tag, because I'm ADHD and this is ADHD Does Cars. So we'll start off talking about how it looks. Now, it's not exactly my favorite design. I find it quite boxy, as you might have noticed from the little sketch in the beginning. I can see why some people like it. It's quite a quirky little design. You have these big, cute little headlights, and it reminds me a lot of a bigger competitor's car. We won't say which one, because I don't think Suzuki is trying to directly compete with anybody. But you have a nice big open grille, big square front, this deep bumper. There's a lot of circles and squares all over the place. This grille is different to the standard one. The usual one has vertical slats in it. This one has this kind of honeycomb pattern. The honeycomb pattern continues down here to the bottom. You have fog lights. You also have a headlight washing system in case you want to take this thing off-roading and out into the wilderness, which is what a lot of people say it's designed for anyway. Moving down the side of the Jimny, and as you can see, the boxy theme continues. You have very square edges all over this car. Windows are square, and yeah, even the wheel arches themselves are square. So yeah, I mean, there's nothing particularly offensive about this angle of the car, but as I say, not particularly my favorite. And once again, here at the back, the boxy theme continues. Big square surface area here on the back. The brake lights themselves are very low down, like all the way down on the bottom bumper. You'd almost expect them to be up here on the side, just to make them a bit more visible, but designer's choice, I guess. Overall, it's not my favorite looking car in the world. I think they could have put a lot more effort into the design of it and given it a bit more styling, but some people like the simplicity. What do you think down below? Let me know. The quirks of the Suzuki Jimny continue when you come to the boot, for the simple reason of they've given you one of the most practical boot openings in the car market at the moment. The whole back of the car opens up, but one of the least practical boots I've arguably ever seen.
Oh my God!
I mean, this isn't even the width of my fully stretched hand. So, you know, if you have someone sitting in the back seats, you're not really going to fit anything in here. So if you are planning on traveling, good luck. I mean, it's a good thing that this one has these roof bars so you can actually do some storage up on top, because you're not fitting anything in here. You can fold the seats down to give yourself a little bit more storage. Even then, the boot capacity isn't massive. You get more in some basic sedans, but this one, yeah, once the seats are down is okay. There's also not many practical things in the boot either. There's no tie down points, so if you do have the seats down and you have the extra storage space, the whole back is lined with plastic, so things are going to slide around, things are going to fall over. They really stumbled here at the boot. The Suzuki Jimny is powered by this engine here. It's a 1.5 litre engine that's standard across the whole model range, puts out 100 horsepower or 75 kilowatts and 130 newton meters of torque. It powers 2 or 4 wheels via a 4-speed auto or a 5-speed manual. Here on the interior of the Jimny, they've made major improvements over the original model. I mean, the styling in here is actually really nice. The one thing that confuses me though is they made the inside look really rugged and aggressive and, you know, hardcore, but the outside is really soft and cutesy. The build quality in here is not super great. A lot of things rattle and everything is scratchy plastics, hard up here. The build quality could be better, especially given the price. You do have a couple of niceties though, like a leather wrapped steering wheel, auto climate control, this nice infotainment system. It's not the most responsive infotainment system, but it does the trick just fine. You also have a USB port here. You have a 12-volt socket here. There's the little storage spaces everywhere. You have your glove box, which for the size of this car is actually quite a decent size. There's cup holders here. There's little storage space down here. There's more cup holders, more little cubbies. The door bins are very narrow. I mean, the width is probably about that for the opening, so you're not going to really fit much in there. But in terms of practicality in here, it's really, really good. Another thing that stands out is the view out of here. Because of the big boxy windows, you have a great view out of everywhere. You can see pretty much every angle. There's very few blind spots, which I think would be a good plus, especially when you're taking this car off-roading, which a lot of people do. So I'm going to preface this drive by saying that I'm not taking this car off-road. I'm not driving it from the perspective of an off-roader or a person who does off-roading. So now that we have that out the way, let's talk about the positives of driving this car. First of all, the driving position is really great. It makes you feel like you're driving a car that is twice the size of this. Because you have 5 miles of headroom above you and you sit quite high in the car, the view out of these massive windows, you really feel like you're driving a car that is much bigger. The brakes are really, really good in this as well. I didn't expect them to be, I must be honest, but they've been calibrated really, really well. You don't feel that they bite too early or that you have to really hammer the pedal in for you to start slowing the car down. So the brakes would also be another plus. The comfort as well, it's a very comfortable car. The suspension is very soft and the seats themselves are very, very comfortable. You feel like you're sitting in a big armchair. Onto the negatives, first one being the transmission. This 4-speed auto struggles. You feel as though if they had 5 gears, the ratios would just be better and you would have a much more pleasant driving experience. And another issue that I have with it is that they haven't given it a manual option. You can't push the lever to the side and now you have flappy paddles to use, or use the shifter to change gear. It's not an option in this car, which I would really like to have the option of controlling what gear I'm in. I also feel like it would make the driving experience more engaging. The engine itself feels very underpowered once you start getting to the higher speeds. So low down, it does have a decent amount of power. It's actually quite torquey, but once you start getting to the higher speeds, it quickly runs out of puff. It doesn't have the pulling power at higher speeds. You get up to a decent enough speed, which takes a while, and if you put your foot down to try and overtake them, first of all, you can hear the engine really doesn't like it. And because, again, the 4-speed auto, you find it jumping between gears all over the place. So I think this engine could do with a little bit more power. The steering is weighted very weirdly for me. It's very light to begin with, and then it starts to get really stiff once you turn the wheel a bit more. So the calibration on the steering does need a bit of work as well. In terms of just general information, the fuel consumption, the claimed fuel consumption is 6.3 liters per 100 Ks. This is getting 10.9 kilometers per liter. I'll put up a conversion. But yeah, I think the big question of the day is, does driving the Suzuki Jimny justify its price? Now, I will say this. They have greatly improved the driving experience from the first one. The first one, I did not enjoy driving it. I'm not a fan of it. This one has a much better driving experience. It's much more comfortable, but for me, in terms of justifying its price tag, I'm going to say that it doesn't. Because once you start getting upwards of 400,000 Rand, 450,000 Rand, you start to expect better build quality, like having less road noise or not having the wind noise, and not being able to see exposed bolts in the doors. Now I understand I'm coming to this conclusion having never taken it off-road, and that is more of its main purpose, is being a very capable short wheelbase off-roader. But as a daily driver that you take to and from the shops and to work and back, I feel like you get other cars in a similar segment that are cheaper, have better build quality, have more powerful engines, are more practical. And so personally, I feel like I'd be hard pressed to justify spending the amount of money that this costs. This Jimny was lent to me by the folks at Shelby Auto. I'd like to extend a massive thank you to them for letting me use this car today. I'll put a link to their website down in the description below. Please go check them out. There's a car there for everybody, so I suggest you go and give them a look. So what are my final thoughts for the Suzuki Jimny? In terms of styling, I'm giving the Jimny a 4 out of 10. Although there is nothing particularly offensive about its styling, its overly square shape and lack of detail leaves it with the low score. Performance gives the Jimny a 2 out of 10. With a very underpowered engine and weak gearbox, it struggles to get to or maintain any real speed. The comfort is the saving grace, with a score of 6 out of 10. The comfortable seats and soft suspension make you feel like you are floating. The only reason the comfort is not a higher score is because of the cheap feeling materials in the interior. Lastly, value. I give the Jimny a value score of 4 out of 10. I personally don't feel like the Jimny justifies its price tag in the category of a daily driver. I feel like its lack of practicality and storage, as well as its lack of power, would make this a very difficult car to live with day to day. This leaves us with an average score of 4 out of 10. Personally, the Jimny didn't really blow me away. I was so ready to love this car, but it didn't sway my feelings towards being a car that I would personally buy. If you like this video, please don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more reviews like this, and I will see you in the next one.